Florence, once a city of art and laughter, now reeks of smoke, sweat, and decay. The bells of Santa Maria toll endlessly, their mournful clang marking yet another day of death. Streets once alive with merchants and painters now swarm with bodies draped in linen, carted off by men too numb to weep. The Arno runs black with ashes, and the scent of burning herbs and corpses hangs thick in the air. Amid this despair walks Isolde de Rossi, a young apothecary with ink-stained fingers and eyes too sharp for her own safety. Her small shop on Via dei Servi is one of the few places where hope still flickers, where frightened mothers and fevered soldiers crawl in, begging for tinctures that might save them from the unseen monster devouring the city. Though she is skilled beyond her years, Isolde's defiance makes her the subject of whispers. She experiments with forbidden mixtures of mercury and wormwood, claiming that healing must evolve faster than death itself. Her fiancé, Father Marco Bellini, watches with growing dread. Once her childhood friend, now a priest bound to the church's strict faith, Marco fears that Isolde's science trespasses into the realm of heresy. Yet every time he warns her, her only reply is a quiet, desperate question. If God has abandoned us, then who is left to save them? At night, Isolde cannot sleep. The plague's moans echo through the alleys like prayers left unanswered. She lights candles to record her observations, sketching the blackened buboes of the infected in her worn journal, her tears smudging the ink. She believes that somewhere in these horrors lies a pattern, something unnatural, as though the disease is learning, choosing its victims with purpose. Then come the rumors. It begins as frightened murmurs in the marketplace, a masked physician, cloaked in black with eyes like polished glass, who walks untouched among the dying. They call him Il Medico del Corvo, the Raven Doctor. Some say he brings healing where none is possible. Others claim those he touches are never seen again. One night, Isolde glimpses him for the first time. From her window, she sees a figure moving through the fog, stopping at each house to mark the door with a symbol drawn in dark ink, a circle with a slashed line through its heart. The air around him seems to ripple, and every dog in the street falls silent as he passes. Marco insists it is the devil's work, warning Isolde to leave Florence while she still can. But she cannot. Something about the Raven Doctor's calm presence haunts her, the way he moves as if he knows where death will strike next. And so, against the pleas of her faith-bound lover and the terror of her neighbors, Isolde makes her decision. She will find this man, this phantom healer who leaves no trail, and uncover the truth behind his miracles. Because deep down, she feels the same cold pull that drives him. Somewhere between science and sin, a cure may already exist, or a curse far worse than death itself. The days in Florence blur together, a ceaseless dirge of bells and screams. The plague devours the city with gluttonous hunger, its shadow stretching from the grandest palazzo to the filthiest alleyway, the living whisper that even the angels have fled. But one morning, something impossible happens. A small boy named Tommaso, whom Isolde had treated days earlier and left half dead in his mother's arms, is seen playing in the street. The buboes on his neck have vanished, the fever gone. The neighbors call it a miracle. Isolde rushes to his home, heart pounding, clutching her satchel of tinctures and tools. But when she arrives, she freezes. The mother swears that the boy was visited during the night by a man in a black cloak and a beaked mask. "The Raven Doctor," she whispers, crossing herself. He said nothing, only touched Tommaso's forehead, and the sickness fled. Isolde's blood runs cold. She presses the woman for details, but the mother only shivers. "He smelled of iron and roses," she murmurs, and his shadow did not move. Isolde spends the rest of the day in a daze, torn between awe and dread. If this Raven Doctor truly heals, how? None of her herbs could accomplish what he had done, yet the child's recovery is real, his skin clear, his laughter ringing down the street like a hymn. That night, unable to rest, she lights her lantern and sets out into the fog-choked alleys. Florence sleeps uneasily, windows boarded, doors marked with crosses. The air is thick with burning pitch, meant to drive away the plague's foul spirits. Isolde keeps to the shadows, her cloak drawn tight, her steps silent. Near the river, she spots him, the Raven Doctor. Tall, still, his mask gleaming faintly in the lamplight. He kneels beside a corpse, dipping something, a needle, perhaps, into a vial that glows faintly blue. When he straightens, he seems to sense her presence. Isolde hides behind a crumbling wall, heart hammering. She peers out, and her breath catches. He moves without sound, without even the faintest crunch of gravel beneath his boots. His shadow, cast by her lantern's flicker, lags behind him, twisting unnaturally, as though it belonged to something else entirely. She follows him through the labyrinth of alleys, her fear warring with fascination. The air grows colder with every step, her breath visible, the world narrowing until it feels as if Florence itself has stopped breathing. Then he stops. Slowly, his head tilts toward her hiding place. The lantern flame trembles. Isolde takes a step back, but the earth beneath her foot gives way to a loose cobblestone. It clatters loudly, echoing like thunder. In an instant, the Raven Doctor turns. Their eyes meet. Behind the glass lenses of his mask, something stirs, a glint of unnatural light, like molten silver. He raises one gloved hand as if beckoning her forward. She freezes, caught between terror and an inexplicable pull. Then, his fingers close into a fist, and the candlelight around them flickers violently. The air smells of ozone and death. Isolde gasps and drops her lantern. The flame sputters out. For a heartbeat, all is darkness. When she relights it, he's gone. No footprints, no trace, only a faint scorch mark on the stones where he stood, shaped like a handprint. Shaken, she flees back to her shop before dawn. She scrubs her skin raw, trying to rid herself of the phantom heat that lingers where his eyes had met hers. But when she looks down at her wrist, she sees it, a small black mark, like the first bloom of infection, burning faintly beneath her skin. And though the city sleeps, Isolde cannot, because she now knows that the Raven Doctor is no myth. He is real. And whatever he carries in those vials may be salvation, or something far worse than the plague itself. Florence grows quieter each day, but not because the plague has relented. The city's silence feels different now, watchful, as though every shuttered window hides an unseen eye. After her midnight encounter with the Raven Doctor, Isolde feels it everywhere, in the slow toll of the bells, in the way the air thickens near the river, and in the unease of those who still live. The black mark on her wrist has not faded. Sometimes, in candlelight, it seems to shimmer faintly, like ink alive beneath her skin. She hides it beneath her sleeve, terrified that Marco or the church might see. But she cannot stop herself. She begins to search through old manuscripts, herbal codices, and letters left by her late mother, Lucia di Rossi, once a healer herself. Buried among the brittle pages, she finds something strange. A faded wax seal pressed with the image of a raven in flight. Her mother's handwriting trembles across the page. The veil draws closer. Death is not the end. It is the beginning. Isolde's heart stumbles. She has seen that same raven symbol before, carved into the doors of plague houses and on the walls of the dying quarter where the Raven Doctor was last seen. The mark that once seemed like madness now forms a pattern. She turns to Master Giacomo, her mentor, and one of Florence's last true scholars of natural science. When she shows him the letter, his face drains of color. He locks the door, pulls the curtains shut, and whispers the name she will never forget. The Brotherhood of the Eternal Veil. According to Giacomo, the Brotherhood is older than any church order, born from alchemists who sought not to serve God, but to replace him. They believed the soul could be purified through death, that plague and suffering were merely the crucible through which humanity might ascend. Centuries ago, the Brotherhood had been driven underground. Some said they were wiped out, but Giacomo's eyes tell another story. He confesses that there are whispers among scholars, rumors that the Brotherhood still thrives, hidden in the shadows of Europe's dying cities, that they are the ones who unleashed this plague, not as punishment, but as an experiment. Isolde feels her stomach turn. She demands to know what they wanted from her mother. Giacomo hesitates before admitting that Lucia was once one of them, a healer who turned against the Brotherhood when she realized the cost of their purification. Her defection was paid for with her life. The revelation strikes like lightning. Isolde's entire world, her faith in reason, her understanding of medicine, fractures. If her mother's death was no accident, then the plague itself might not be either. That night, unable to bear her thoughts, Isolde returns to her shop. She studies her wrist under lamplight. The mark seems to pulse, as if answering some invisible rhythm. And for the first time, she hears it. A faint sound, distant and low, like chanting carried through the fog. Following the sound, she walks through narrow alleys until she reaches an abandoned church near the outskirts of Florence. The doors are sealed, but through a crack in the stone she sees them, figures cloaked in black, their masks shaped like birds, gathered around a circle of burning symbols on the floor. At the center stands the Raven Doctor, his gloved hands raised as he speaks in a language she doesn't know. Before him, on an altar, lies the body of a plague victim, still, yet somehow, breathing. Isolde claps a hand over her mouth to stifle her gasp. The air around the church trembles with a strange energy, and for a brief, heart-stopping moment, the corpse opens its eyes. She stumbles back into the shadows, her pulse roaring in her ears. The Brotherhood is real. The plague is no accident. And somehow, her blood, her mother's blood, is bound to them. As she flees into the mist, the echo of chanting follows her home. And though she doesn't know it yet, the Brotherhood has seen her too. The morning after Isolde's glimpse of the Brotherhood, Florence feels colder than ever. The streets are hushed, the bells eerily still, as though the city itself holds its breath. In her apothecary, the air reeks of vinegar and herbs, her futile defense against a death that laughs at human remedies. But inside, Isolde burns a different fire now, obsession. Sleep deserts her. Every spare moment is spent poring over her mother's notes and Giacomo's warnings. Her mind races with impossible questions. What if the plague is not divine punishment, but design? If so, can it be undone? Her curiosity teeters on the edge of madness. Even Marco's visits, once a comfort, now chafe against her purpose. He speaks of prayer and surrender. She speaks of patterns and proof. They look at each other across an ever-widening gulf, the priest and the scientist, each trying to save a dying world in their own way. Then comes the day that changes everything. While dissecting the body of a young plague victim in secret, her gloves long since torn, her hands trembling with exhaustion, Isolde slips. The scalpel bites into her palm. Blood blooms bright against the gray of decay. She curses softly, expecting infection to follow. She has seen what comes next, the fever, the buboes, the slow descent into blackened ruin. But it never comes. By morning, the wound has sealed, the skin smooth and pale as ivory. No swelling, no pain, no sign of sickness. Panic claws at her throat. She pricks her finger again, deliberately this time, watching as the blood wells up, then stills, as if resisting the air. Beneath her magnifier, she sees something miraculous and terrifying. Her blood does not clot like normal blood. It moves, alive, writhing faintly, attacking the blackened tissue of the plague samples she keeps in sealed jars. The plague cells dissolve completely. For a long time, Isolde just stares, unable to breathe. The same black mark still stains her wrist, faintly pulsing. Whatever the Raven Doctor did that night, it changed her. Her mentor, Master Giacomo, is the only one she dares to tell. She arrives at his home trembling, clutching her vials. When she shows him what her blood can do, he crosses himself and steps back as if from fire. "This is not medicine," he whispers. "It's alchemy, life born from death." He warns her that such a gift cannot exist without cost. He speaks of old legends, of the philosopher's stone, the elixir of immortality, the forbidden art of turning flesh into purity. He fears she is becoming the Brotherhood's new experiment, the vessel for their terrible design. But Isolde refuses to listen. If her blood can destroy the plague, then she must use it, even if it came from the darkest of origins. That night, Giacomo disappears. His home is found in ruins, his books scattered and burned. In the ashes, Isolde finds only one thing, a scrap of parchment bearing the symbol of the raven, drawn in blood. The next day, she receives a message slipped beneath her door, a single line written in precise, elegant hand. "The cure is in your veins, daughter of Lucia." When she rushes to Giacomo's workshop, her knees give way at the threshold. He lies there, lifeless, his chest carved open, the same raven sigil etched into his flesh. The air is thick with the metallic scent of blood and incense. On the table beside him sits one of her vials, empty. Tears blur her vision as she kneels beside him. The man who taught her to believe in reason is gone, taken by the very thing she sought to understand. Yet even through her grief, a single, terrifying realization rises like smoke in her mind. Someone knows what she is, and they are no longer watching her from the shadows. They are calling her forward. Florence is dying, and with it, everything that once tethered Isolde to reason. The church bells toll less often now, not because mercy is returned, but because there are too few left to ring them. Streets lie empty, the air thick with the sour stench of vinegar and smoke. What remains of the living hide indoors, praying not for salvation, but for forgetfulness. After Giacomo's murder, Isolde's world fractures completely. Marco, fearful and heartbroken, pleads for her to turn herself over to the church. He sees the mark on her wrist and calls it the touch of the devil. But she no longer listens. Faith failed her mother, failed Giacomo, and now threatens to claim her too. So she runs, from the priests, from the plague, from everything that once made her human. She escapes through the catacombs beneath the city, those forgotten tunnels where corpses are piled like books on a shelf. And there she meets Lorenzo, a gravedigger with soot-streaked hands and eyes like dying embers. He is not like Marco, nor like the scholars and physicians who dismissed her. He is coarse, irreverent, and frighteningly alive. He does not ask whether God can be found in all this suffering. He only asks how to survive it. At first, their alliance is one of necessity. Lorenzo knows the hidden roots beneath Florence, where the Brotherhood's marks stain the walls in black soot. He agrees to help her flee the city in exchange for something he's never had: hope. But nights spent in the tunnels blur into days of whispered confessions and stolen glances. Together they uncover horrors few could imagine. In the bowels of an abandoned monastery, they find a chamber lined with cages. Inside lie the plague's so-called survivors, men and women whose veins run black with the same substance Isolde saw in her own blood. Some still breathe, though barely. Their eyes, glazed with a silver sheen, follow her movements as if pleading for release. Lorenzo recoils, muttering prayers he barely remembers, but Isolde cannot look away. On a table near the cages, she finds her mentor's handwriting, Giacomo's, unmistakable, sketched beside diagrams of human anatomy. Except these drawings are twisted, bodies opened, their blood drawn into crystal vials marked with the raven sigil. "The cure," she whispers, horror dawning, "isn't being found, it's being harvested." She realizes the truth with a chill that roots her to the spot. The Raven Doctor isn't curing people. He's creating them, infecting, experimenting, perfecting. Her blood was only the beginning. When she collapses under the weight of this revelation, Lorenzo holds her close, his rough hands trembling against her face. "You're not like them," he says, voice raw. "You can still save what's left." She wants to believe him, but when his lips brush hers, she feels the heat of her own cursed blood race through her veins, and for the first time, she wonders if love itself can survive. Corruption. Their stolen tenderness becomes their undoing. One night, as they prepare to flee toward Venice, the Brotherhood finds them. Masked figures descend from the shadows, silent, inhumanly precise. Lorenzo fights, wielding only a shovel in desperation, but they overpower him. Before Isolde can scream, one of the masked men whispers in her ear, "He should not touch what belongs to the Raven." They vanish as quickly as they came, leaving Lorenzo bloodied but alive. Yet something in his eyes has changed, something darker, more afraid. He begins to question her, to fear the mark on her wrist and the way wounds heal too quickly. Still, he does not leave her, because even in this world of death and madness, love is the last rebellion. As they flee Florence, the city's walls burning behind them, Isolde looks back one last time. The bells toll again, faint and distant, and she knows the sound is not mourning, it's warning. The Raven Doctor has found her trail. The road to Venice is a graveyard. What was once a tapestry of vineyards and villages has turned to ruin. Fields scorched, rivers choked with bodies, even the birds have fled. The air smells of salt, smoke, and despair. Yet Isolde and Lorenzo press on, guided by whispers that somewhere beyond the marshes lies a hidden refuge where the plague has not yet touched. But rumors are liars. Venice, when it rises from the mist, is no sanctuary. It is a city of ghosts. They arrive under moonlight, their boat gliding across a canal thick with stagnant water. The gondolier who ferries them does not speak. His face is hidden behind a plague mask, his eyes glassy and unblinking. When they step ashore, he vanishes into the fog without a sound, leaving them in a city that should be alive with laughter and music, but instead hums with something darker. The streets are eerily clean. Too clean. Lanterns burn in rows along the canals, but behind every window there is silence. No cries of the dying, no stench of rot, only the distant rhythmic sound of breathing. They follow that sound to an abandoned hospital marked with the symbol of a raven painted in ash. Inside, the corridors are lined with doors sealed by iron locks. The walls hum faintly as if the building itself were alive. Lorenzo forces one of the doors open. What lies beyond makes him stumble back. Rows of people lie on tables, hundreds of them, pale and still. Their veins shimmer faintly blue beneath the skin, pulsing in time with a sound like a heartbeat. Tubes snake from their arms into glass vials filled with liquid that glows softly in the dark. Isolde's breath catches. She knows that glow. She's seen it in her own blood. "The cure," she whispers. "They've made it." But her wonder dies quickly when she leans closer. The people aren't sleeping. Their eyes twitch beneath closed lids. Their chests rise and fall, shallow but steady. Their bodies are alive, but hollowed out, stripped of will, of soul. The emocho air is thick with the scent of metal and something sweet, unnatural. On a nearby table, Isolde finds documents bearing the seal of the Brotherhood. Notes in the Raven Doctor's handwriting describe serum harvests, Phase 3 adaptives, and a chilling phrase that makes her blood run cold. Subject S9 exhibits unparalleled compatibility. Extraction continues. Lorenzo stares at her. IS9, he asks. Isolde doesn't answer. She doesn't need to. She knows what the letters stand for. Isolde de Rossi. Subject 9. Her blood, the very essence she thought might save the world, has been stolen, multiplied, and used to create these half-living shells. The Brotherhood hasn't cured the plague. They've enslaved it, weaponized it, and used her as their source. Rage burns in her chest. "They've taken my blood," she says, her voice breaking. "They're turning people into vessels." Lorenzo wants to flee, but Isolde is no longer the same woman he met beneath Florence. The horror before her steals something inside. She begins smashing vials, cutting tubes, freeing those she can, though their freed bodies crumple to the ground, lifeless. Her hands shake. "They can't survive without it," she whispers. "They are the cure now." Sirens wail in the distance, long mechanical notes that echo across the canals. The building trembles as masked guards descend. Lorenzo grabs Isolde's hand, dragging her through the smoke-filled hallways. The walls seem to breathe as they run, the air humming with life stolen from the living. At last, they burst through a side door and into the cold night. From the rooftops, black-cloaked figures watch them flee, the Brotherhood sentinels, their masks reflecting the fire below. As they cross a bridge, Isolde looks back one last time. The hospital is burning, yet the flames seem to pulse in rhythm, like a beating heart refusing to die. She feels the mark on her wrist sear again, brighter now, glowing beneath her skin. Lorenzo sees it too. For the first time, he steps back from her. "What are you?" he whispers, the words trembling with fear rather than love. Isolde stares at her hands, slick with her own blood and the blood of others. "I don't know," she answers, "but I think he does." Far across the lagoon, through the thick Venetian fog, she sees him, a silhouette standing atop a bell tower, the Raven Doctor, watching, waiting. And for the first time, she no longer doubts the truth. The plague isn't spreading by chance. It's being guided. Venice burns behind them. The hospital's flames lick the fog like tongues of gold, devouring the night. Isolde and Lorenzo flee through winding canals and collapsing bridges, the air thick with ash and the faint scent of burning oil. The city seems to pulse with life, terrible, sentient life, as if the Brotherhood's experiments have seeped into its very bones. They find shelter in an old bell tower overlooking the Grand Canal. There, in the thin light of dawn, Lorenzo tends to his wounds in silence. Isolde sits apart, watching her blood drip into a bowl. It glows faintly before darkening to red. Her hands tremble. Her body feels foreign, alive in ways it should not be. "Lorenzo," she whispers, "what if I'm not meant to survive?" He turns to her, face hollow with exhaustion. "You will. You must." But even he no longer believes it. That night she dreams of the Raven Doctor, of black feathers spilling from his sleeves, of a mask that weeps blood. When she wakes, the mark on her wrist is burning, and outside a bell tolls, once, twice, 3 times. The Brotherhood has found them. They run, but the city is a labyrinth. Bridges vanish into mist, alleys twist back on themselves. At last, they reach an old basilica half swallowed by water. Its doors are open, candles flickering within, and waiting inside, beneath the shattered dome, stands the Raven Doctor. He is taller than she remembers, his black coat gleaming like wet ink. The beaked mask hides his face entirely, but the silence that surrounds him feels familiar. His gloved hands rest upon a cane of twisted silver, its tip shaped like a raven's claw. "Isolde de Rossi," he says, voice calm, measured. "You've inherited more than you know." Lorenzo moves to step between them, but the Raven Doctor's gaze flicks to him, and Lorenzo collapses to his knees, gasping. He claws at his throat, eyes wide with terror. Isolde rushes forward, but an unseen force holds her still. "Do not fear," the Raven Doctor murmurs. "He will live. You, however, must listen." The candlelight flickers as he gestures to the walls. Painted frescoes long faded, now shimmer faintly to life. Scenes of alchemists working in secret, men and women drinking from chalices of glowing blood, bodies rising from graves untouched by rot. "This plague," he continues, "was not meant to destroy. It was meant to transform. The world has grown soft, diseased by its own weakness, but from death, something pure can emerge, a lineage immune to suffering." Isolde stares at him, her pulse hammering. "You speak like a priest, but your altar is made of corpses." He tilts his head as though almost proud. "Then perhaps you understand me better than most." She draws her dagger, the same one Giacomo once gave her. "You killed him." A pause. Then, "I saved him from ignorance." Rage consumes her. She lunges, but before she can strike, he catches her wrist. The contact sears through her like lightning. Images flood her mind. A woman's face, her mother's, smiling through tears, holding a small child, a laboratory filled with glass and flame, a man's voice whispering her name. She pulls free, panting. "How do you know her? How do you know my mother?" The Raven Doctor steps closer, the light glinting off his mask. "Because she was my greatest creation, until she betrayed me." The world narrows. Isolde stumbles back, shaking her head. "No." He removes his mask. Beneath it is a face carved by time and grief, his skin pale as wax, eyes burning with cold intelligence and unbearable sorrow. She knows that face, the same jawline as her own, the same gray-green eyes. "My child," he says softly, "I am your father." The basilica seems to crumble around her. The air rushes out of her lungs. Her memories splinter. Her mother's cryptic letters, the raven symbol, the whispers of a husband lost to plague. All of it falls into place with a horrifying precision. "You unleashed the plague," she breathes. He does not deny it. "I gave mankind the gift of rebirth. Your blood is proof that it worked." Lorenzo, still on his knees, looks up at her in disbelief. "Isolde, what are you?" She cannot answer. The Raven Doctor reaches out, his expression unreadable. "Come with me. Let us finish what I began. Together, we can end death itself." For a heartbeat, she almost feels the pull, the promise of power, of purpose, of belonging. But then she sees the faces of the dying, the hollow-eyed survivors in cages, and Giacomo's broken body burned into her memory. She steps back, voice trembling. I would rather die human than live as your creation. His eyes soften. Oh, my dear, you already have. And before she can flee, the shadows themselves seem to rise, swallowing her in darkness. Isolde wakes in darkness. Her wrists are bound with silk, not chains. Her wounds have been cleaned, her clothes replaced with linen white as bone. Somewhere nearby she hears the drip of water echoing against marble walls. The air smells faintly of myrrh and decay. When her eyes adjust, she realizes she is not in a dungeon, but a cathedral remade into a laboratory. Stained glass windows glow with unnatural light. Pews have been replaced by rows of alchemical instruments, their glass organs pulsing like hearts. It is beautiful and horrifying in equal measure. At the far end of the hall, beneath a crucifix of twisted metal and glass, stands her father. The Raven Doctor no longer wears his mask. His face, though pale and gaunt, holds a strange serenity, as if he has already transcended the world around him. Do you remember this place? He asks without turning. She doesn't. This was once Santa Lucia's hospice. Your mother and I built it to heal the poor. When the plague came, we transformed it into something greater, a sanctuary where death could be rewritten. Isolde's voice is hoarse. You turned it into a slaughterhouse. He smiles faintly, the way a teacher might at a naive pupil. You still see the world in fragments, my dear. Life and death, good and evil. Such boundaries are illusions. The plague stripped away the weak, the diseased, the unworthy. What remains, what we have made, will endure for centuries. He turns toward her, eyes luminous in the dim light. You are living proof of that. Her pulse quickens. You infected me. No, he corrects gently. I created you. Your mother carried the first purified strain. You were born immune, not by chance, but by design. You were meant to be the bridge between what was and what could be. Isolde's breath shudders. Her entire life, her compassion, her defiance, her desperate need to heal, suddenly feels orchestrated, scripted by a hand she never saw. You used her, she whispers. You used both of us. She understood, he says softly. She believed, as I did, that to conquer death we must first embrace it. He steps closer, and she can see the pain flickering behind his calm. She died, completing the final formula. Her sacrifice gave you life. Everything I've done since, every experiment, every life taken, was to perfect what she began. Isolde's fury boils over. You murdered millions in her name. You call that perfection? His expression hardens. I call it balance. He gestures toward the windows, where images shift and shimmer. Scenes from across Europe, cities burning, monks praying over corpses, peasants burying loved ones in mass graves. Do you see this chaos? They blame God, the stars, the devil. Anyone but themselves. Humanity needed a reckoning. I gave it one, and through you I will give them deliverance. Deliverance? She laughs bitterly. You've given them nothing but death. He approaches, cupping her face in his gloved hand. His touch is unexpectedly gentle. Death, my dear, is mercy compared to what they've done to this world. You and I, our blood, can end this cycle. Together, we could bring peace everlasting. For a moment, his conviction almost reaches her. There is sorrow in his eyes, genuine love twisted by obsession, and in that instant, she sees not a monster, but a man who has lost everything to his own faith in science. Father, she says quietly, you think you've defeated death, but all you've done is worship it. The words strike him harder than a blade. His grip tightens. You sound just like her, he whispers. You'll betray me just as she did. He releases her suddenly, pacing toward the altar. Do you know why she died, Isolde? She tried to destroy the formula. She believed the world wasn't ready. She was weak. But you, he turns sharply, you are not weak. She meets his gaze, calm now. No, I'm not. In one swift motion, she slashes her bound wrists across the edge of the table. Blood spills onto the marble, bright, luminous, alive. Her father lunges forward, horrified. Stop, you'll waste it! But as the blood touches the floor, it spreads like fire. The glass instruments tremble, their contents bubbling and bursting. The air fills with the scent of iron and ozone. You wanted to cleanse the world? She cries. Then let it begin here. Lorenzo bursts through the cathedral doors, his clothes torn, his face streaked with soot. Isolde! The Raven Doctor turns on him with a snarl. You cannot have her. She belongs to the New World. Then I'll burn the New World to the ground, Lorenzo growls. The two men collide amid shattering glass. Alchemical fire ignites the walls, illuminating the crucifix above them like a beacon of divine judgment. Isolde staggers toward the flames, her blood glowing brighter with every heartbeat. Her father reaches for her one last time, voice breaking. Isolde, if you die, everything dies with you. She looks back, tears in her eyes. Then maybe that's the cure. Outside, the cathedral bells toll one final time. The city trembles beneath the weight of what's coming. The flames that consume Venice do not stay confined to its waters. They travel with the wind, leaping across fields, crawling through villages, following Isolde like a curse bound to her blood. By the time she and Lorenzo reach Florence again, the city is already in ruin. The bell towers toll endlessly, not for prayer, but for the dead. Smoke hides the stars. The Arno runs black with ash and bodies. Everywhere they turn, the plague is in its final frenzy. Coughing, wailing, fires burning pyres where houses once stood. And above it all, the Brotherhood's banners flutter like funeral shrouds. They take refuge in Isolde's old apothecary. The shelves are bare now, her herbs turn to dust. The smell of camphor still clings faintly to the walls, ghosts of all the lives she tried to save. Lorenzo helps her sit by the window. Her skin is pale, her veins faintly luminous beneath the surface. You're burning up, he says softly. It's not fever, she whispers. It's reaction. The cure and the plague. They're the same thing now. He grips her hand, terrified. Tell me what to do. She smiles weakly. Help me finish what I started. That night, Isolde walks the streets of Florence one last time, her cloak drawn tight against the cinders that fall like snow. The city that once sang with merchants and lovers now howls with death. Yet in the distance, she hears the toll of the cathedral bell. He's here. Her father. The Raven Doctor's voice echoes through the square, amplified by the chaos. Bring them to the wells. The cure flows tonight. Citizens, delirious with hope, gather around the central fountains. Cloaked figures pour vials of glowing serum into the water. Her blood, replicated, corrupted. She knows what it will do. It will heal some, kill others, and bind the survivors to her father's vision forever. She cannot let it happen. She climbs the cathedral steps as flames lick the stone. Inside, the air is thick with smoke and chanting. The Raven Doctor stands before the altar, vials of blood lined like jewels before him. When he sees her, he almost smiles. I knew you'd come, he says. You've seen it, haven't you? The world dying. But death isn't the end. It's the crucible. Together, we can make it clean again. Isolde steps forward, every breath a struggle. You don't want to save them, Father. You want to own them. He gestures to the vials. I want to save you. The serum has bonded with your blood. You're breaking apart. But if you take it, if you let go of your mortal shell, you'll live forever. She stares at the shimmering liquid, her essence, her curse. Forever, she repeats softly, in a world you've burned to ashes. Lorenzo bursts through the cathedral doors, dragging a chain of lanterns behind him. Isolde, the wells. We can reach them from the aqueduct tunnels. If we release your blood there, the city will drink the cure, all of it. The Raven Doctor's eyes widen. No, you'll undo everything. Isolde's voice is calm. That's the point. They race through the catacombs beneath the cathedral, the Raven Doctor's footsteps echoing behind them. The tunnels tremble as the fires above spread, heat cracking the walls, turning air to smoke. At last, they reach the great cistern, a vast pool that feeds every well in Florence. The water below gleams faintly, waiting. Lorenzo hands her the final vial. Are you sure? She nods. If my blood is both the cure and the disease, then maybe it can balance itself, end it. Her father's voice cuts through the roar of the fire. Isolde, don't do this! He appears in the tunnel mouth, mask hanging from his hand, eyes wild with desperation. You'll kill yourself! She meets his gaze, not with hate, but sorrow. You killed me long ago, and then she shatters the vial. The glowing liquid bursts into the water, spreading like veins of light through the cistern. The ground shakes. A wind rises from nowhere. Isolde's knees buckle as the same light erupts from her veins, connecting her body to the water below. Her father rushes forward. No! He grabs her shoulders, trying to pull her away, but her blood clings to him, binds him. Their eyes lock, a father and daughter, reflections of the same torment, the same brilliance. "Please," he whispers, voice breaking. "I only wanted to save you." Tears mix with smoke on her cheeks. "Then let me go." The cistern explodes in light. The tunnels collapse. Above, the wells of Florence overflow. The water glows gold as dawn breaks through the smoke, and for the first time in years, the coughing stops. The people lift their faces to the light, weeping. But beneath the cathedral, amid the crumbling stone and the rising flood, two figures remain entwined, one lifeless, one fading, locked forever between death and salvation. The fire consumes the city, but the plague song falls silent, and somewhere beyond the flames, the wind carries a whisper, a final prayer, or a curse reborn. Morning comes, slow and heavy, over a dying city. Florence is silent. The fires have burned themselves out, leaving only embers that float like dying stars in the dawn light. The air smells of rain and smoke and blood. From the ruins of the cathedral, the last bell tolls, a hollow, broken sound that fades into stillness. Beneath the ashes, water trickles through the shattered tunnels. It glows faintly, golden as sunrise. And in that shimmering light, two figures lie side by side, Isolde and her father, still and intertwined, as if in prayer. Her blood has stopped burning. The luminous veins have faded to pale blue. Yet her face is peaceful, her lips curved faintly in a smile. His hand rests over hers, the same hand that once brought death to the world, now open, empty, forgiven. For a moment the silence feels sacred. The plague has ended, and the city breathes again. Above ground, the survivors emerge cautiously from their hiding places. They find that the black buboes have vanished, that their fevers have broken, that the smell of rot is gone from the air. They call it a miracle. Lorenzo, his body burned and bleeding, wanders through the ruins searching for her. When he reaches the cathedral, he finds only the crater where the altar once stood, and in its center, a single feather, black as night, smooth as glass. He picks it up, trembling. Isolde. He looks to the sky. For the first time in years, it is clear. He doesn't see the figure standing on the distant hill. A cloaked traveler walks through. The fields beyond Florence, their boots leaving prints that fill slowly with golden rainwater. The world around them is quiet, too quiet. When the traveler passes a dying tree, its leaves flush green again. When they cross a puddle, the water begins to glow. The traveler stops at a crossroads and lifts a mask from their satchel. A raven's mask. Smooth, freshly polished. They hold it for a long moment, as if weighing its meaning, then slide it over their face. The light catches their hand, pale, scarred, unmistakably feminine. And in the other hand, glimmering faintly like captured sunlight, a small vial of blood. She looks toward Florence, her voice barely a whisper. The cure was never meant to end, only to change. And with that, she disappears into the mist. Epilogue. Years later, whispers spread once more, of a healer who walks the countryside, restoring the sick with a single drop of crimson light. They call her the Black Angel, or the Daughter of Death. Some say she brings salvation. Others say she carries the plague anew. No one can agree on the truth. Only this: wherever she goes, the ravens return. And sometimes, on windless nights, Florence's last bell tolls again, not as warning, but as remembrance.